by Enrique Canales, La Maja y el Ruiseñor. And that's recital 2 from August 4th, 2020. The album is the recitals of the 2020 Aspen Composers Conference and Meadow. And um, it's a beautiful cover of the CD with aspens that are in a shade of purple and white and pink, like the little shades of dawn. And we have with us Jaroslaw Golembiowski,
That's correct. Welcome.
and he is a composer, Polish composer, and also
And I would like to an organizer and a founder of the Chicago Chopin Society. And we just listened to the fragments of the CD that was recorded during the 2020 Aspen Composers Conference. That conference takes place every day, and it's organized by American Ukrainian um, musicologist and pianist Natalie Shinhaevsky. And during that convention, the composers from all United States, they present their papers and their music. And at this convention, each composer performed their own music. And if sometimes composers cannot perform, then Natalie is willing to learn and perform. Otherwise, we are hiring other musicians. So we are very happy to go to Aspen every single year in August, enjoy the beautiful summer, and maybe bike riding and have some inspiration for new music. And the next composition we are going to listen is going to be me performing the study opus 83, number 3, from that convention.
We could have a little interview first, and
Okay,
then we'll listen
wonderful.
to music
Okay.
later.
That's wonderful.
So, Jaroslaw Golembiowski, when did you start writing all this music?
Well, I'm writing the music every every day basically. That's my life, that's what I do, and I enjoy presenting my music. And I guess I'm very lucky that I do have, because of a Chopin Society, I know a lot of interesting artists, musicians, the violinist. I'm working with the Lincoln Chamber Orchestra, and the Lincoln Chamber Orchestra, the conductor Philip Simmons is always willing to perform my music, usually during the celebration of the Polish events. And such celebration took place yesterday because we had a May 3rd Constitution Day, and it was a Polish parade, a lot of concerts. And here today we have a continuation, and during that continuation I'm going to present my students at 3 o'clock at Copernicus Center, which is on Lawrence Avenue, and the address is 5216 West Lawrence Avenue. It's going to take place in a small hall at Copernicus Center Gateway Lunch. And after the students' performance, and I have to mention that the students are not just mine, but other teachers from Chicago Area Music Teachers Association. And this is our spring student concert. We sometimes do the concert once a year or sometimes twice a year. And at 3 o'clock, we are going to have a fascinating program. We'll have an intermezzo number 1, opus 12 by George Enescu. We'll have piano concerto number 12 in A major by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, performed by fabulous David Schrader. And then the world premiere. We just finished almost yesterday 4 pieces from my the selection of the 30 piano compositions called Piano Notes, and we chose 4 composers from Chicago area to arrange 4 pieces from that cycle. And tomorrow I'm going to hear these pieces for the first time arranged by Philip Simmons, Ilya Levinson. I arranged 1 song, so it's by Jaroslaw Golembiowski, and then we have Gong Kwang Yang arranged, I think, the most difficult piece in that selection.
Why is it difficult? Why is it difficult?
Because for the piano, we need to. I wrote a lot of notes, and on strings to play a lot of notes, especially when you have a group of 12 musicians, is not so simple. I would like to set up the mood with the titles "Never Ending River," which is like a story. I like the names of the rivers, especially like in Wisconsin or Michigan or Illinois, because they are so I would say evocative and provocative. So that's the title. I like to I like to meditate in a forest near the lake and near the river. I lived in surrounded by mountains, so I'm always very close to the nature. Another one is kind of maybe aggravating, but it's funny. It's called Said AI. We are using artificial intelligence. I you write in English or in Polish and any language we can use it, and I imagine that AI, artificial intelligence, sometimes might be very tired with our questions, and he could get sick. So, but on the other way, he is of course occupied, and it's funny because AI doesn't have any feelings. So I imagine that artificial intelligence could be sad sometimes, and tired. We'll see how Ilya Levinson will present this music. My next one is Bells of Sorrow, and that one is very personal because that song I was arranging when I was visiting my sister who passed away in February, and I hope I'm not going to cry during that performance of this composition. And the last one is very hopeful. It's called Rapids. So we are sometimes running, and the water that we see, the waterfalls, everything that is running is bringing us happiness. So that piece is very happy, and that's how I would like to end that concert. So all these four pieces are united with the title for Evocative Interludes for String Orchestra, and today it's a world premiere at Copernicus Center. Under the direction of Philip Simmons, the orchestra is Lincolnwood Chamber Orchestra.
When you mentioned that the rivers in Wisconsin inspire you, what's the significance of Wisconsin to you?
Well, Wisconsin has one of the biggest population, the Polish people, and then the story is actually that the farmers that we have right now um, are actually the orphans that were rescued by different nationalities. Like even they were in a camp after the Siberia. The Polish army was created, the Anderson army was created in Iran actually, and we are very thankful to Iranian people because they helped to win the World War II, and especially they hosted thousands of Polish people after they came from Siberia. They were feeding us for months, and then we commemorate them very dearly in Chicago. We organize commemorative exhibitions and concerts to say thank you to Iranian people, and I think that we should talk more about how humble these people that United States for no reason is fighting. It's just beyond my comprehension. That first they are helping us, and now we are killing them.
When
So about the rivers, right?
yes, well, I did want to.
About Wisconsin, I didn't finish
Okay.
the story.
Okay.
So so these orphans from Siberian camps after the World War II ended, came to United States, and some people, some orphans still had some families in United States, in Chicago, New York, or whatever, but some of them didn't have anybody. So the United States government asked farmers in Wisconsin to adopt them.
Oh.
And they adopted a lot of Polish orphans, and now most of them became farmers. So now we have a cheese made by Polish farmers in Wisconsin, and
What's
they
it
are all
called?
very rich right now, as you can imagine.
Yeah. What is the cheese called?
Well, probably Wisconsin cheese. I mean, they do have a lot of variety. Like almost every city, it's not just cheese, but they are farmers, so they farm and eggs. They just bring food to United States. So that's so we like to go hunting there too. And our next concert is going to take place next Sunday. It's commemoration, not commemoration. It's to bring the tradition of the hunters. We have some hunting clubs in Chicago, and they're going to Wisconsin or Michigan. They do have a lands there where they go and practice shooting. They don't very rarely they do hunt animals, only if it's illegal, of course. And we have a very special concert May 10th in Willow Springs, where all these hunting clubs we will bring together, and we are going to listen to Lech Głowacki Polish hunting mass. It's called also Hubertus Mass, and we are educating young audience and employing them as a musician. So musicians from the school in Summit actually are going to perform this hunting mass under the direction of Konrad Pawełek. And we are also going to have a.
What do you mean by mass? Is it the MASS? What?
Yes,
Really?
yes. It's a mass, but it's not like we are not singing the mass. It's only the brass instruments, because before the hunting, the hunters would go to a short mass. Where they just performed Kyrie Gloria and some parts from the mass, but there were musical numbers, and they are quite short, and then they would say prayers to say thank you for the animals that they sacrificed their life so we could eat and be really and we are very grateful for their sacrifice. So that's why the hunters usually would go for a short mass at 4 o'clock in the morning before they go hunting. And then the tradition is that, of course, when you go hunting, you have a different signals, different natural horns, where you give signals to start the show, basically. And then you follow the signals that, let's say the animals are here. So that one horn player would announce that, and another horn player would announce that that's the end of the hunting, and not exercises, but it's just the end of the adventure. And the hunting in Europe, in Polish forests, were very famous in the whole Europe. The kings from whole Europe would come, for French kings, the Tsar from Russia, and Polish kings, of course, the Swedish, and etc., etc. They would come to hunt to Poland. Right now, the beautiful forest or jungle is divided between Poland, Ukraine, and Belarus. And so we still own a little bit at this forest preserve, and we have trees over there that are 1,000 years old.
So the land is divided between among Poland, Belarus, and what's the third country?
Ukraine.
Ukraine,
right.
I see.
So in 1,000 years, that was no countries, right? So the land, you would go from one a nation to another nation. The Poland was established in 1994, I think. So we just celebrated 1,000 years a few years ago, and that's and then Ukraine and Belarus are new countries. They just exist for barely 60 or 70 years right now. So before it was of course also Lithuania. So Lithuanian princes and kings where we had two countries together. We have a union, Polish-Lithuanian union, and I propose now to create again Polish, Ukrainian, and Lithuanian union, so we can fight the evils from other countries. So we can still go hunting and be happy, and that's why we are organizing these kind of a concert, so we can remind the history. That history we would live in peace. We would hunt together. We would be happy, and that's what we want again. The artist wants to express themselves with the music, their happiness, their sadness. But we don't need the tragedy that it's upon us. And we, no matter what we do, we are living in these times, and we cannot separate our feelings just to be an artist. We have to be involved, and we are involved, and we write a lot of music that is happy, that it's giving us a hope, like this. Even these hunting signals that I wrote for two trumpets and organ, they give us these are happy melodies, and a lot of composers in centuries used that hunting signals in their operas, in their piano music. And if we search, we'll find a lot of that kind of a happy sound. Now, why this hunting music is so happy? Well, it is because the original instruments could play maybe 5 notes only from the selection of harmonics, and these intervals were the best intervals that you can imagine. They're the most harmonious octave, perfect fifth and perfect fourth, and then we had a third. So having only the 5 notes, it is kind of difficult to write the music. So like Beethoven and Mozart used these natural horns.
How many notes did Mozart use then compared with 5?
Well, for the horns he would use 5 only, because that was, well, I really not studying the Mozart music, but an oboe and a clarinet, they would use more, of course, because we have 12 notes altogether. But the horn at that time, the Beethoven and before the Beethoven, had a very limited amount of notes to be used. So these were just main notes, like the tonic dominant and maybe subdominant. And like also for the percussion instrument, usually they just use 3 notes from the primary chords, tonic, subdominant, and that's enough. And that's what we hear, the hunting or the horn music in these beautiful symphonies are just very steady tones. And they are taken, the composers, they just loved the sound, and the sound was created for the hunting purposes.
You said that the hunting music is happy music. So,
yes.
So does that mean that it's in major chords?
Yes. Usually it's a major chords. It's very difficult to play anything minor unless if you are playing out of tune, then it's minor, then it's sad.
Oh.
And it's very difficult to play in tune because you have to practice to get a note. Sometimes you have to practice for 1 or 2 years. So this is very, very interesting. The whole concept of showing just these instruments in their original way, and that's what they're going to do next week, next Sunday. It's going to be quite exciting. We collected some original instruments, and you can order even these original instruments to be built for your own purposes and enjoyment. So we are also going to present the instruments that were specially ordered for musicians. these are like a shepherd's flutes and different with the different sizes. The
What
also
what are
yes.
they made of? Wood?
Yes, yes, the wood, the natural horns were made from the horns of the animals,
Oh,
actually.
is that why they call them horns then?
Yes, yes.
Had no idea.
So that is interesting. Well, we when we kill animal, when we sacrifice animal, I would like to say not kill. Uh, we using everything, every single part. So it's nothing is it's wasted, and that's the honor. I mean, that's we don't throw anything to the garbage. And the women are cooking beautiful dinners, so they don't go shooting, but they are preparing delicious food for us, for and for the whole. Because sometimes, usually, we go hunting when it was a wedding or some kind of a big celebration, because you don't do this every day, and then celebration is usually maybe a coronation or wedding or christening, whatever it is. Gathering whatever it was appropriate for.
Back to the Siberian, history. What were the Polish people rescued by the Russians and sent to the Siberian camps? Were they rescued from the Nazis and then sent to the Siberian camps? And
No, that was they were not rescued. There was an agreement between when the Russians were attacked by Germans. They didn't have enough people to fight, so they signed the agreement with Polish government that they would free Polish prisoners, and then the prisoners would go to the Russian, either to the Russian army, or we would create our own army. The purpose of that is if we would go to Russian army, we would right away become Russians, and we didn't want that. So negotiation was that we would rather create our own army, because we would never trust the Russians. They would use us to kill Germans, but then they would again maybe kill us. So we prefer to use our own people with our own army, and collaborate with the British army. And it was very difficult because Europe was in a state of war, so the African and Middle East countries were not fighting. So that's why the Iran came to the picture, and the Shah allowed the prisoners and soldiers to use the territory to prepare for the war campaign.
so what did the Russians get in return for the Polish people going into the Polish army to fight?
What they get in return, uh, basically, surprisingly, not much, because we were not even invited to attend the winning parade in, I think it was mostly in England, and we are very still angry about that. Because our blood is all over the Europe. We started with the Italy, going north, and we even had a bears fighting with us. We trained the bears to give us ammunition,
Oh.
and that bear after the war went to the his name was Wojtek. He retired in London Zoo, and now there is even a monument in London for the bear hero.
How did the bear give the soldiers ammunition again?
Well, they trained him. They
Oh.
trained him in he went for the whole campaign, and there is a wonderful stories. We had so many wonderful stories. So we even had the bears. We had of course everybody under the arms and animals trained to help fighting. We in the war we had even pigeons, like sending the messages
Uh-huh.
from one side to another side. And there are movies about these beautiful animals helping us to win.
So the bear had the ammunition on his back. It was like a harness to his body.
I don't know. I wasn't there, but I think that he was using his paws to because the ammunition was very heavy. So
Oh,
it was very, for bear, it was much easier to carry heavy ammunition.
but he has to walk on
No,
his
no,
four
he
legs.
didn't need to walk. It was like from the from the box where they had ammunition. He would just pick it up and give it to the soldier who would feed it mm, to the not
To the gun.
pistol to the gun,
Oh,
right? But there was heavy machinery. It wasn't like a pistol. It
mm.
was very heavy
Yeah, like
cannons.
cannons. Mm.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So we used. And then during the war, everybody is weak and they don't sleep. They fight. They barely eat, and so every help is good. I mean that's why women are helping to cook, to cure the soldiers and taking care of them. And there are wonderful stories about the women, what they organized to help the soldiers and win the war.
It must be very hard to train a bear though. It's must take a little time, but maybe the bear understood what situation he was on, and then and maybe the bear was very intelligent.
Yeah, there's other intelligent. You can train them, and especially in Russia, in Poland, we do the bears sometimes like would say home animals,
Oh, oh,
but it's not. You can train, I guess, any animal. I mean that's why, like we adopted horses, and I think that the animals like we see dogs, they are enjoying to help us because they can feel. Uh, our happiness and they are happy, we are feeding them, so they want to say thank you to us too. I mean, I loved animals. I had like many dogs and parrots and cats, and this is so beautiful to love animal and see their love that they give us in return.
so were you ever inspired to compose a piece about the such an animal as the what happened with the bear?
Not about the bear, but I wrote a piece um, about the dog. My brother wrote lyrics. It was never performed, but it is about sad dog who that he suffered. Nobody wanted him. So that's a sad song. But there are many different songs about the animals, and
So it would be in the minor key then.
it would be minor key probably, right? Maybe at the end of the song he was happy finally. He was adopted. So there was a happy ending. And there are in a song, so actually the little birds are the favorite in songs. The love birds, I would say, right. So the animals are always symbolizing. Like a pigeon symbolizing the peace. So there are songs where we use the animals, and I'm sure, and there are many songs written about the dogs and cats for children, of course. So we that's how we bring the love and love of animals to our children and to ourselves, to our environment, and that's. I think we have too many animals that we take care, and we should take care of the people the same way we take care of animals. Right now, I think it's a little bit reverse story. Maybe it's a time for music.
We'll do music uh, after the interview.
After the interview.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yes,
That's good. Let's continue with the interview. So I would like to mention the third concert that it's going to be
This
May
is
31st.
this is WLUW 88.7 Chicago Sound Alliance, broadcasting live from the Water Tower campus of Loyola University. WLUW 88.7 FM.
Yes. And today, well, we have a parade, I think, outside, right?
Yes.
Today. So we are very surrounded by the police cars. We are very secure today. And it's a lovely weather. So it's a weather for to go downtown and enjoy the parade. Yesterday was a Polish parade downtown.
Yes, let's give a little history because it's a celebration of Polish Constitution Day. The Constitution was written sometime in the 1940s, right? And it's
no, it was much
second,
earlier.
Yes, the second Constitution in the world. That's
Yes,
what I heard.
yes.
Okay.
So it was written in the 18th century.
And And has it ever been changed at all?
Yes, yes, of course. That was very progressive constitution, and that's why the Poland was everybody, all the neighbors were very angry, so they created such a situation that they dissolve our countries, and after we created the most advanced constitution, the Poland disappeared from the map.
Wow.
So the situation is similar to what we have right now. If we want to advance our culture and humanity, we have so many evil people that they don't allow us to become more human, more loving person. So what I've learned in America is that you can have a change, but you have to do it very slowly, because there is more. I would say there's not too many educated people. Like in Poland after the war, the Germans, of course, killed all educated people, professors, doctors, and that's what it's happening right now. We can definitely see that the American government is cutting funding for universities, for radio stations, for all. They don't want any education. They only want stupid people to run the country. I'm ashamed
that
even
happened
to
at
say it, but that's how I feel. I mean, I am a doctor in music and I cannot be employed because I feel like that nobody wants people with a higher degree anymore. So it's
But
very sad environment.
but you do have students. So are your students how are they connected with you? Are to a university or private?
Yes, no, no, I have a private piano private piano studio.
I
I
see.
travel to students' houses. So if somebody would like to become a student, you are welcome to join my class. And I teach. I'm really amazed that I teach from the first note to the, I would say, last note, because usually when we finish 12-year course, they go to university, and I'm not their teacher anymore. But I prepare them all the way through to the last recitals. Right now, I do have a student, actually, today she's going to perform too.
And
Um,
how young is your? When did they start with you?
started usually at 4 years old,
It's
and then you go all the way to the 12th grade.
wow.
So it's a long process, but that's it. In order to have if students have the same teacher, we know each other very well, so we can progress with a mutual friendship and love to the art and the music. And of course, I do not hesitate to recommend to our students to take lessons with other teachers who are maybe specializing like in some composers. So sometimes we have the students who are studying Chopin with me because I'm Polish, but then maybe Russian music they're studying with the Russian teachers, and then French music with the French teachers, because each music requires different personality, and we cannot be French, Polish, and English at the same time.
So music is, in other words, you're saying that music is affected by the culture of the composer, and
Yes,
and
absolutely.
and it's easier for the teacher to be very familiar with that culture, to have grown up in that culture, to teach the student.
Yes, and that's a very well. That's very rewarding. I would say. Right now, I have Chinese students, a lot of Hindu. Are trying to get to the business of music, which is really fascinating. There's a lot of very talented Hindu students, but they do not see the piano playing or teaching or writing the music as a career. They are more technically oriented. The Chinese students are very dedicated. Russian, of course, and Polish students take the biggest amount of lessons. So I would say to have a lesson once a week is a very minimum. I used to have a lessons 4 times a week, two times with the private students and two with private teachers, and the 2 times I would have in like recommended by the government or designated by the government in a musical school.
In Poland, you
In
mean?
Poland, right? In Russia and in Poland, in Slavic countries, we have the music school from even from the first grade. Actually, from the first to 12th grade, you go to the music school. There are 5 schools like that in Poland, and I was very lucky to be chosen to be in that school, because you cannot just go. You have to be examined, and then you have to be chosen to study in that kind of a school.
So was music music have a bigger role in education in Poland and Russia?
Yes. Well, right now I would say in a like in a poor countries, what do we have? We only have music, like in Cuba. If you go to Cuba, it's a poor country, but it's the most happy people you can imagine, because they have music, they have dancing, that's all what they can do. They have to just enjoy the life. And the other, so we are helping these people, like we have a lot of in my times, a lot of students from Cuba who would come to Poland, or from Vietnam, for whatever in the we would bring the students from the country that were in a war, usually with for war with America, unfortunately, and they would come to Poland and they would be educated, and then after the war ended, they would go back to their country, to Vietnam or Cuba, or they would marry Polish boy or girl, and they would stay in Poland.
So in other words, they're refugees, right? Refugees from Cuba and Vietnam. They are settled in Poland. That at least passed by in Poland, and some of them settled.
Yes, yes.
And then the Polish people that came from the Siberian camps that ended in Wisconsin, those were also refugees, those Polish people.
Yes, absolutely. So the world is crazy. That's why we have so many immigrants right now, because it is because of the wars. I mean, if we could create our own country, and we would be allowed to live the way we want, we can argue about ourselves. But this is our culture, our language. We don't need interference from Russian. We just the culture is Asian, is foreign to us. It will be like in Poland having the Japanese president. That would be crazy, right? And America is trying to impose their way of seeing the world and order, and it will never work. Like Germans tried to impose their way of being clean and ordered, and that's they created the most horrible way of killing people, and it's just because they thought that they are better than everybody else. So that's the danger. You cannot think that you are better than me, because we are all equal.
What about your music? Do you have any commentary about this state of affairs with the humans?
Well, yes, I wrote a Polonaise for 100th anniversary of regaining Polish independence, and that was in 2018. And I have when I came to America, I did come from Poland, which was at that time under the Russian influence. So I wrote the March of Freedom, and then I started working here as a volunteer at the Polish Museum of America, and I found a lot of Polish dances that were commemorating our heroes. And in front of me, you can see I have a Triumphalny Marsz Hallera, so a triumphal march, Haller March. And Haller was a general who created the Blue Army in France, and then in Poland. Actually, the army started to be created in the United States, but of course, the United States didn't allow to train the Polish people in United States, so they moved the all camps to Canada. And they were trained in Canada,
And that was during what era?
World
What
War
time?
One.
Oh,
That was
okay.
when Poland didn't exist, and then we created. There was an opportunity that World War One was ending, and then we created the army. And in each church in Chicago, they would have offices that they would list people to want to join the Polish army, and that army then was sent for training to Niagara on the lake, and then from there, whoever was ready they would send it to France, and in France they received the blue colored uniforms, and that's why this army was called Blue Army. And then the Blue Army then was fighting first with French on the French side, and then would be transferred to Poland to fight against the Bolsheviks. And that was very, very helpful. That the army was, I think, at least 20,000 people from United States.
Yeah.
So this so I'm very I like to collect old music, and I found this old album, Polish dance album, a folio of Polish national dances, published in Chicago by Sajewski. And the instrumentation is piano, violin, cornets, trombone, alto saxophone, clarinets, violin, flute, cello, bass, and drums.
Is there any instrument that is more that is native to Poland?
Well, yes and no. Yes, we have the not the peasants, but the Highlanders. I would say violins are maybe a little bit different, and the Highlanders and horns. So we actually in my school we did have a competition to create new instruments for so every year I would not I wouldn't examine, but I would be amazed how inventive people are to create new instruments. And that was like the beginning of the creating electronic instruments. And when I was in school we didn't have any electronic instruments.
Was that around the 1970s?
Yes, it was. And I'm not sure if that competition still exists, but in my school every year we would organize the new instrument competition.
And where's the school in Poland?
In Poland, I studied in Wrocław in Karol Lipinski School of Music, and then I finished the composition and music education over there, and then I studied in Warsaw, Frederick Chopin University of Music, and in 2013 I received the doctor's degree in music composition. So I am very interested in the history, and that was in 2018 or 19 and 20 when we celebrated the independence, regaining the independence. And then General Haller would be invited by the American government and a Polish diaspora to come to be honored that he helped to fight against the Bolsheviks and to gain the Polish independence. Of course, composer like Paderewski was the most important person in the world to prepare the independence of Poland. And we can see that we do have a lot of composers fighting with the music and with their fame to raise the money for the Polish independence. Another one was, of course, Prince Ogiński, who was also a composer, and he was also he would almost became a king, but he didn't win the election. And I'm not sure right now if it was the composer or his father. I would have to examine the history. And of course, Chopin was forbidden by Germans to be performed. But on the other hand, the Germans loved the music, and the heart of Chopin's heart was in a church in Warsaw, and one of the Germans saved the heart. He notified the Polish underground army, and he helped to save the heart before the church was turned to the ruins.
You mean save the sanctuary, the heart? Is that what you meant?
Heart, the Chopin's heart, because Chopin's heart was
Really?
was saved in in a church. I mean, there's
It's
this
like a the relic.
real heart,
Wow.
real heart. And the reason
Wow.
for the heart to be taken from the body, because in France during that time there was a lot of diseases and epidemic, and people were like dying on the streets, and Chopin was so afraid that he will die on the street, and then when you would be buried, you would wake up. So they invented the cure was that you have to that if you will take extract your heart from your body, of course, then you are the dead for sure. Otherwise, if you are over there in your grave, and then they would invent the little tubes and the bells. They put the bells and the tube in the grave, so so if you wake up, you would ring the bell that you are still alive. That's a story after story here.
So at that time, they were very afraid that people seem to be dead but are not actually dead at that time.
Right,
Oh.
right, because you could, yeah, well, you could be asleep for a few days, right? And then everybody would assume, oh, you were dead, so would bury you. But then you woke up. I mean, things can happen right now too. So,
Okay.
well, let's go back to the concert that we are preparing. So, this is the score 100 years old that was published. I think we should have in 1934. So
Well preserved the program.
right. So the next concert on May 31st is the music from the music collection from the Polish Museum of America. And so for the first time, we are going to hear Polish dances arranged by Polish composers and arrangers and publishers for enjoyment of the Polish music who came to America in 1930s.
So will there be any dancers or just classical music?
We do have a lot of dancing groups, yes, but since the concert is going to be in a church, so I think it would not be appropriate to employ dancers. So I think we'll just have we are going to do the lecture, and this lecture is actually going to be presented by Konrad Pawełek, and we received the a grant from Illinois Arts Council to prepare that program. So the Chicagoans are going to be educated about the Polish publishers in Chicago.
So
And
is
the
he,
music.
does he have a day job? Was he able to find a job? Because it seems as though all these talented composers like you can't find a job. What about him? Does he have a day job?
Well, the people they would create the jobs for themselves. Like I did,
grant.
I like opened the music studio, and I'm teaching. I'm teaching students, and I'm teaching how to write the music, teaching theory of music. I'm very good with the theory. I like it's such a fascinating subject. There's no way that in my lifetime I would know everything. Music is developing all the time. The teachers, we are always learning. But that history here is very interesting because some of the instruments that we found in our albums don't exist anymore, for example. So we have to adapt, like a flute piccolo was a transposing instrument we found, and there's no transposing flute piccolo anymore in the orchestra. So I have to transpose this flute piccolo in E flat to a regular to the current instruments, and we are distributing this instrument. We are giving it these parts to maybe a clarinet player, an oboe player, and a regular flute. So that's a lot of work.
So the piccolo could be an instrument in itself, but in order to have a sound like the piccolo or play what the piccolo would have played, you need 3 different instruments.
Yes, we will need to distribute because piccolo has a very long range, and if I transpose it, and the students, since we are using the students to perform, we want them to have that experience. Some of them are not able to reach to the notes who are too high or too low, so we are not going to distribute music so all the students can participate. and usually they don't play piccolo flute at that young age. It comes later. So we have to have that knowledge what we can do. And like in these albums, for example, we have the commemorative piece of March Halera, who was traveling through United States with other generals, of course, and then he would meet probably at different sites in Chicago, and then he would travel to different cities, so Detroit, and etc., etc.
What is his purpose in traveling through the U.S.?
He was invited to be honored as a general who was part of the winning the World War One.
Got it.
So there was not on just this general, but there was a lot of generals from the World War. They would be invited by the United States government to be honored and to travel to say thank you for the new world order. Since the Americans, of course, participated in the new order, they gave a lot of Polish land to Russia at the time, and we are still angry about that too.
So, in other words, you say that the Polish people, Polish army helped the U.S. win, but the U.S. actually gave some of the land to Russia. But how did
No,
Polish
actually, no. I'm sorry, I mixed up a little bit. At that time, the World War One, there was President Truman, and he really helped to feed Polish people. And we have a monument of Truman probably in every city in Poland. But then after World War Two, President Roosevelt, he gave the land, Polish land, because Poland was much bigger after World War One. We had a territory that now belongs to Lithuania, Belarus, and Ukraine. So the new countries were created, these countries were under the occupation of Russia, including Poland at that time, of course. So we are like a new republic of Russia. Poland was an independent country, but Ukraine was part of the Republic of Russia. So like the 1/3 of Poland was taken and given to other countries, or to create other countries actually.
Yeah, why would they do that? Just to
Because that's what they do. I mean, like the people don't have as much say. They would just put the line on a map, and then like your bedroom could be in Russia and your dining room could be in Poland. That's how crazy it was. It wasn't like really asking people where do we want to live. It was sometimes forced.
And that was like the conditions of the armistice.
Yes, well, and of course after World War II, it was a very big tragedy, because before World War One and after World War One, the Polish people living in a Austro-Hungarian district, or a Russian district, or it would be a Prussian district. So we would speak either German, Polish, Ukrainian, or whatever language they would speak. And then later, after the whole land was connected, we would speak like multiple languages. So even right now, when you live more on a side where you border with the Germany, people would learn German, and they would speak German and Polish. Now my side was actually, I was bordering with Czech Republic, Czechia, so we could understand each other. We didn't need to learn Czech. But then on the east side, they were bordering with Russia. So well, even in my family, my father came from Żydachew, which is now part of Ukraine, and I would spend all my summers in Ukraine. And before, so my father was born in Poland, basically, but then he became Ukrainian.
Wow.
And then he would speak Ukrainian and Polish. So now who I am, I don't know. I'm adopted Ukrainian, born in Poland.
Wow, that's very hard. Did you? So when you were young, you really didn't understand your identity. You know that you're Polish, but as for like history, it's kind
Right.
of hard
So
to.
my aunts and my father, they would speak Ukrainian. I would go for the summers to Ukraine, and then so because after World War II, people were either forced to move to the territory that was regained and given to Poland, and it was taken from Germans. And usually people from that part of which is now Ukraine would go to the part that it's now Poland, but before it was Germany. But if you didn't want to move, then they would take you to Siberia. So my other part of the family was taken to Siberia for 5 years, and then they came back, and they still wanted to live
In Poland.
no, in which is now Ukraine.
Oh.
So that's why I would go to Ukraine to visit my family, and I still have a lot of cousins there.
Do you speak Ukrainian fluently?
No, no, not at all. I can read and I can understand, but I've never. It was weird when I was because I was a little. I mean, I was a child there, so for me, Russian and Ukrainian would be like the same language. We're all forced to learn Russian, but then I would go to spend summer in Ukraine, and then I would come back, and in a Russian class, I would mix the Ukrainian words with the Russian words. So I was always bad in the Russian because I could not recognize the differences. Ukrainian is much closer to Polish. It's much easier to us to understand. But since we were forced to learn Russian, so of course we can still communicate in Russian.
And you are fluent in Russian then?
I was fluent in Russian, yes, and then so the crazy story is when I was in a American composers delegation to Cuba, to Havana, I've met some composers who were trained in Poland, and they all, of course, were forced to learn Russian. So Americans who didn't speak Spanish could not communicate with Cubans, but me speaking Russian could understand each other in Russian. You could communicate in Russian. It was interesting experience, and I'm sad that we cannot have this wonderful relationship with Cubans right now. They are wonderful people, and I would like to, and they are amazing composers. Their rhythms and their mixing of the music and religion. It's like we think that they are atheists. Actually, they pray to one God in the morning and to another one afternoon. They have a mixture of African voodoo and a Christian and Jewish background. So they are quite religious. I mean, that's all what they have right now.
Mm-hmm. They just want to be safe, and then have that piece of that comfort, that's like a safety net.
Yes, absolutely.
When you compose, do you have any? Do Russian music influence you? Does Cuban music influence you?
No, in Cuba I didn't spend much of the time, but since like I said, we started with the Cubans. My first piece was actually in Poland, performed by the Cuban percussionist. So I would write it wasn't very rhythmic piece, but it was performed with perfection. There was for the percussion instruments, vibraphone, and my first performance, now I remember, was with the performer from Cuba. And then I performed my piece also in Cuba, so it was like giving back.
This is WLUW Chicago 88.7 FM, broadcasting live from the Water Tower campus of Loyola University. So you performed in Cuba?
Yes, in Havana, and we had a American composers for Cuban composers exchange, and then we would also visit the ballet. We would visit the different art communities. We had lectures given to us by percussionists in Cuba, because that's their main instrument, and we had experiences about different rhythms that they have, different influences, and we would try to learn and understand their comprehensive theory about the rhythms. which is amazing. I did documented everything, and I have a lecture that I could give from that trip. That was very absolutely memorable, and the way we organized it was, of course, in a secrecy. Oh no, actually, there was the second time was open. We didn't need to do any in secrecy, but it was
So
first time.
secrecy. Why?
Yeah, well, the first I was invited for the first convention. It was completely different group of people. There was a secret way of going to the International Electronic Music Convention, the first time, and then the first time. So we were preparing this for like the whole year. We would go. Everything was created, or arrangement were made from Italy by Americans, and we would need to hide
And this was
our
about what
identities.
year? Yeah, this was about what year?
It was probably like 20 years ago.
Okay.
No, it was during the September 11th. So actually, my flight was on that day to Cuba, and then we had to go through Canada because there was no flights to America. So I remember waking up in the morning and getting ready to the airport. I called the airport, and they said that I can still go and fly. So I went to Toronto, and from Toronto I was going to wait to go to Cuba, but of course all of the flights were forbidden through American territory. So I would go to Cuba, but then of course I was waiting for the whole week in Toronto to really go to Cuba. But of course, as you know, only they opened Guantanamo, and then only the Muslim could go to Cuba at the time. So
Yes.
that was unfortunate. So then after 1 week, they announced that the war might be growing, and that it's safer to go back to your own country. So I went back to America. The flights were resumed for Southern Airlines to go back to United States, and I was the only passenger on the airplane.
Oh my goodness! And then
I was treated like a king.
oh wow! But you said that you had a concert in secret. Was that a concert in?
No. That time I was not able to go. The second time it was legal to go. I went from Miami to Cuba. So the
And
second
where
time
was
I was an official delegation to bring friendship between Cubans and Americans.
And when was that about?
So that was like maybe, well, I don't have my diaries here. So maybe it was like probably 10 years ago. So it was not a long time ago. I document all my concerts, and maybe next time I will bring. It's 40 years of history. And I think it is exciting how immigrant composer can find his way in Chicago or in the United States. And we are like, I still feel definitely separated from the rest of the community, especially in Chicago. In Chicago, there is no United Chicago Composers Union or anything like that. Everybody, we have like, at one time we had like 30 different composers organizations. Every composer had their own group performing the music, and we try to put things together, but in Chicago it never worked. So now I belong to Minneapolis Composers Forum, and then Minneapolis is the best city for the artists. They really take care of us. They organize the concert conventions. They give the money, seeds money to organize your concert. In Chicago, it's kind of like, well, impossible. You have to do on your own.
So in Minneapolis, they give grants for different composers to collaborate.
Yes, they have collaboration between composer and musician. They have collaborations between composers at the different groups in Wisconsin. So that's no, that's Minneapolis. It's not Wisconsin. It's Minneapolis. So that's. They have many different programs.
And in Chicago, you mean that DKs won't support this Department of Chicago Arts
Well, we tried. I remember Christopher Price, I think was his name, or Preisner. I don't remember. Sorry, to mix up the name. Or he was the president of our composers in Chicago. We received the seed money to organize our group here, and we existed like for 5 years, but we failed to get enough funding, so we had to be dissolved. So now we don't have a group. We have some very good group and amazing composers in Chicago, no doubt about that. I really admire Augusta Reed Thomas. It's just a queen of composers here, and she's organizing amazing concerts at the University of Chicago. Augusta Reed Thomas. I attend all the concerts that I can, and she brings the first grade composers, and she has the Grossman group that organizes the concert at the University of Chicago, and I would invite everybody to attend at least once in your lifetime that kind of a concert. It would be it's a experience. You don't need to like or dislike the contemporary music, but just experiencing, and there's always a little notes, and composers are expressing themselves. They are explaining why they wrote this kind of a music. This experimental music, but it's very well explained, and it all makes sense, and then you are enjoying it. If you just listen to the contemporary experimental music without knowing the background, how this music was created and what is the purpose, that could be, you could feel that you are in a chaos. So you have to enjoy it from a different perspective.
So Augusta, she does have a job then at the University of Chicago.
Yes, she I don't know, maybe she doesn't even need a job. She has a lot of commissions. Yeah, but she is employed. Now, a lot of composers are teaching. I was working with Marta Ptaszyńska, would be hired by University of Chicago to prepare a composition student for the exams at the university, and I was hired as a pianist to perform their music and to help them to finish their compositions, and I really enjoyed the job. So it was like a composer for hire, helping students to finish their music and the performing their music, and teaching them how to use Sibelius program that is used to write the music right now.
You mean a computer program?
It's a computer program.
What is it called again?
It's Sibelius, like a composer from Finland.
Oh.
And we have now Dorico, the amazing program too, and we used to have Finale. Finale doesn't bankrupt right now, and we have MuseScore. We have few amazing music programs. So we still recommend students to write their pieces with a pencil and a paper, and then transfer their music to the computer, because otherwise, learning how to write on a computer and writing the music, it's very destructive at first. You have to focus on one thing. It's much better. The music moves faster. You are writing better music this way.
It seems as if you're lucky. You get commissions all the time to compose. Are there many composers in the world? About are they in the hundreds, thousands? Do you have any idea?
I'm sure that there are the composers. It depends from the government. Like I think in Scandinavian countries, composers are employed and they're getting stipends by the government. And in Poland, we have a Minister of Culture, and every composer can apply for their project, and they are receiving the stipends for 12 months, or for the time when they are writing their music. So that's a very generous offer, that you feel fulfilled and you are receiving the money. You don't need to go to work and write the music. You just receive the stipends for 12 months, and then you finish your project. You're writing the music.
And do they have like outlets, venues for them to perform what they have written, or for them to
Yes,
commission artists?
usually it's set up before you start the project. So you have a group who are willing to cooperate with you, either dancing group, the ballet, opera, or instrumental group that
Or like
they
a
will.
classical orchestra too?
Yes, of course, the classical orchestra, but I'm saying it's not just one form of music. You can apply for anything. You can apply to write the music for the film. So you work with the director, and they apply together for the project.
Have you ever collaborated with jazz musicians?
Well, yes, I have I could release the CD with my music that was influenced by jazz. I love the genre. I don't like so much going to the concert and listen, because I know how it's done, how it's improvised, uh, and but I love the harmonies. I like the different forms, the blues and the I like I teach children how to write blues because it's such a wonderful form to write, such easy form, and you have so many varieties. So I wrote a few blueses. I wrote a prelude that it's on a CD that we played. Oh, I didn't play it yet. Prelude based on a Chopin, where I used some jazz elements in accompaniment. I didn't change the Chopin's melody, but I changed his accompaniment. So I would be very happy to have the musicians to perform my jazz influence by jazz
What number?
music. This is this CD here. The number is. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Do you have this CD?
Okay, number
So
10?
no. This is melody. Just sorry. It's a prelude by reminiscence prelude. This
Okay,
one.
awesome.
Number
Okay.
8.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Sorry. So let's listen to this. Yes, that's a jazz influenced piece,
Okay.
and it's arranged for violin and piano. The performer is Krzysztof Zimowski. He is absolutely fantastic, fantastic violinist. We prepared the programs with Romanian music, with Hungarian music, with the Polish music, with my music. So we collaborated for many years.
So is that the classical music that the?
It's a classical music.
Yes,
transformed to a little bit jazzy music.
And
here.
when you spoke about the collaborating with the Romanian elements, is that classical elements, or is it the folk elements?
No, this is Chopin music only.
Oh,
Chopin and my music. So we are listening to a different CD. On the other CD, I do have the blues that we can listen if we'll have time. If not, next time.
Okay.
Here it is blues.
Yes. Okay, but if our listeners want to learn more about you or contact you for lessons, where should they go? Jaroslaw Golembiowski.
Phone number is area code 773-988-3663.
One more time.
773-988-3663. And please, you can come and see me today at the Copernicus Center at 3 o'clock. Enjoy my students' performance and the premiere of my music. The concert is at 3 o'clock at Copernicus Center, Gateway Lounge, 5216 West Lawrence, or 5216 West Lawrence Avenue in Chicago.
Okay, thank you so much, Jaroslaw.
Thank you, Trudy.
Golembiowski. Okay, I see.
Wonderful. So we finished, right?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. That was very enjoyable.
Do you want any of the materials?
Okay,
here?
yeah.